Hello and welcome. In today's episode, we are going to be talking about sacred rage. What is it, and how can we use it to help us to alchemize? Now, this is a subject which I actually was a little bit uncomfortable with as I was experiencing it. And I think that's twofold. Is once we, as a society, we are taught that anger and rage is kind of something that we should suppress or not talk about, or it's an uncomfortable subject. So we can be not comfortable with rage as an emotion. But then for myself, I personally believe there was a second element to it as an Aries and I have a lot of fire in my chart. I've always been since a teenager, kind of very aware not to want to burn anyone with my fire, so to speak. I didn't want to project, feel, acknowledge, talk about rage or anything else like that because I didn't want to hurt anybody with rage, and it was considered a bad thing. And so I really struggled when I have experienced sacred rage, because I feel like it's something bad. And I think that's really, really very natural for a lot of people. So what is sacred rage? Sacred rage is where you feel this volcanic fire building up inside of you, this rage. And in this rage, the difference between turning it into just something where you can be angry about it and actually utilizing it as sacred rage is where you make sure that you don't project it onwards or outwards. You actually contain it within your energy field and use it as an alchemizing tool to change. So rage can be about injustice, or it can be the rage of frustration. And if you utilize it, it can activate your soul esteem archetypes, in particular your warrior archetype, but in particular, one step further, you can activate conviction. And that is the most incredible part about working with sacred rage. So I'm going to tell a story that happened to me last February with one of my most beautiful of sacred friends. And I have shared this with her and we have laughed about it, and I have thanked her for the experience. But in the January, I was really, really wanting to help people. And I was in a coaching container, and there was a bunch of incredible women who was journeying with me at the same time. We all kind of joined up with this coach at the same time. And I am still very good friends with quite a few people who were in that container. And I felt like we are all at really similar spaces in our lives, and we're really being called to push ourselves to action, get on lives, start helping people with our experiences and our expertise and the things that we know that we can help people with. So it was that standing up, let's be seen, heard, known, and be of service. So my beautiful friend, I was really all of January pushing her, to encouraging her. And yes, I'll say push because I have an Aries bulldozer, which I'm trying to work with in a different way. But I am very good at, come on, let's do this. And I always try and do it in an inspiring way. And I would give her advice on going live, how she can be of help, the different things she could do in a Facebook group, the different ways she could be of service, And she would listen, but then not take any action. So I wasn't being heard. I didn't feel like my advice was being valued, even though I knew it was really profound advice. You know, and as a generator in the human design, but also as someone who's got a really strong clairsentient ability, there's times when I just know things. And it's really hard to say to somebody, hey, I have the strongest psychic knowing. If you do this, it's really important for you. And so many times it gets dismissed. Of all the clairs, I find clairsentient, it's one of the things that you struggle with is being dismissed. So in this process over this entire month with helping my beautiful friend, what happened was she had a phone call in the early February with our coach. And our coach said the exact same things that I said to her, almost word for word. And my friend gets on and she's so excited. Oh my God, I had a phone call. It went for like about 10 minutes. And she said I needed to do this, and this. And I was so angry. This sacred rage came up inside of me like a volcano, because I'm just like, I've just told you all those things for the last month. Why would you dismiss what I'm saying? Why would you not listen and value what I'm saying? Am I not worth anything? Is my advice like nothing to you? What is this? And I allowed it to come up. And as I'm experiencing this sacred rage, I made a vow at the exact same time. And as this rage is coming up, and the vow I said is, I want to become just like my coach, where people hear my words when I'm coaching them, when I'm helping them, and they feel activated, they feel on fire, they feel like they can trust what I'm saying and take that action. I need to become more fierce. I need to do this. I need to be heard. And it's hard to describe in 2 words, because as I've done the work upon myself and my abilities have come online and I'm sensitive to energies, I actually felt the program kind of explode and untangle and go kaboom in my aura, in my energy field. So up, this volcanic rage came up. And I'm laying on the bed and I just felt it go kaboom. I got really angry. And I didn't project that anger onto anyone else. I didn't get on the phone with my friend and go, how dare you? I didn't have any of these things going on. Instead, I just allowed myself to feel the sacred rage, but then utilize it to alchemize what the core issue is that there is something in me that people aren't listening to, that they're dismissing. Heal that aspect. Is there some part of me that's afraid of being seen, heard, known? Is there some part of me that's holding back? What do I need to do in order for people to listen to me, to truly listen to me? Heal it. Help me. And it was so incredible, because I'm laying there and within the next few hours, my hips and knees ached. I felt muscular stuff going on in my legs. I felt tired but euphoric at the same moment. And I realized that by using sacred rage, I was able to transform something really rapidly and explosively, which might have taken longer. And I was able to physically release it within my body. This is what this aches and pains and rapid shifting was. And I'm just sitting there and I'm just going, wow, this has never happened before. This is incredible to be this self-aware of the actual alchemy process and that I can use it in this way. And I've had a similar experience just recently with Sacred Rage again, where it just goes kaboom. So what is happening archetypally when this is going on? So when we're feeling sacred rage, it's because there's something inside of us that we no longer want, or someone is doing something to us which we don't like anymore, and we throw everything in the fuck it bucket in one moment. And I just want to pause and just restate that I'm in no shape or form upset with my friend. She did the most greatest thing by not listening to me, and provided the most greatest of opportunities for me to experience and work with sacred rage. So what happens in that moment archetypally? My sovereign, we're all up in the solar steams. My sovereign goes, oh my God, this has happened again. There is something holding you back. We can see it. There is an issue that's here. Are you going to accept that anymore? No. We're willing to do anything and everything to break this pattern and this energy up, completely. Then your warrior, the higher aspect of the victim, goes, I am never allowing this to happen to me again. Fuck that, fuck this, fuck everything. Sorry for swearing, but that is the fuck it bucket. You just throw everything in there and you go, I'm never, ever, ever, ever doing this again. And you activate the conviction. Because remember when I'm teaching about the warrior archetype and I talk about the three C's of the warrior, which is courage. Everyone has courage. Commitment. Sometimes people struggle with that. Conviction is where people fall down all the time. People will say they have conviction, and after 3 days of doing something, they don't do it on the fourth day and they make up excuses. It's because you lack conviction. Do not worry, no judgment, we all do it, but that's what's happening archetypally. Your warrior is not strong enough and you need to do work upon it. So when you have the sacred rage, it is such a powerful volcanic experience that you go straight into conviction and you say, with the greatest of strength possible, I am never freaking doing this ever again. I'm not experiencing this. I'm not going to have this happen to me in a relationship. I'm not going to be talked to like that. I'm not going to work in this job like that anymore. I am not going to have this friend. I'm not going to be abused like that. I am not going to allow myself to be ignored anymore. That was a big one for me. And I didn't want to become brash. I didn't want to become in your face. I didn't want to be anything. I wanted it to be on the energetic level. You will not freaking ignore my advice. I am trying to really help you. And if you don't take my advice and we are not having this beautiful symbiotic relationship where there's give and take, because I'll listen to you right back, then I'm out of here. I'm not doing it anymore. I'm not going to give you my advice. I will have a fluffy friendship. And that's what I call them. I have beautiful friends who we just keep it at the fluff level. How's the weather? Here's a joke. Here's a funny meme. Hope you're having a great day. But if you ask me for help as a friend, if you come to me for help as a friend, I will help you. But I have boundaries in place now. If you ignore what I'm trying to tell you and honoring my clairsentient abilities, honoring my knowledge as an alchemist, if that's ignored, then I just stop doing it and we go back to fluff. I'm happy with fluff. Fluff still is fantastic. Fluffy friendships can soothe you like nothing else because there's nothing in there. So when I went through this incredible moment of sacred rage, it activated that conviction where I set boundaries and I asked, can you please fix my energy field where there's anything where any blocks, any fears? I am so ready to stand up and be of service and help people. What do I need to do? And over that was in early February. I had at the end of February, I had a joint workshop with some beautiful friends, and then I launched my very first group coaching in March. And I had some incredible, beautiful people sign up, and it was successful. So if I had not have had that release, I wouldn't have called in those clients. And those clients then taught me other stuff, which in July, I went through a different type of release. Last July, I actually went through initiation and I had a headache for 3 weeks as I was being recoded. But that didn't have rage involved in it. That did have me asking for something though. And, I don't always watch what I say, and I will divinely perfect, but also accidentally ask for an initiation. So when you're with this energy of the sacred rage, you've activated the sovereign. I'm never doing this again. You're going into clarity. You're really seeing things. You go straight into that conviction with the warrior. And then you have the alchemist activated with, I don't care what I have to do. I want this as my future. I want this as what I want for my clients. This is what the program I'm wanting to go. This is the fear or the doubt that I'm willing to do. And I will do anything to do it. And you're willing to alchemize on all levels. So remember how I said I felt like my body was processing all the aches and pains and stuff? I was physically alchemizing. I was energetically reprogramming myself. And the beautiful mind, it had to catch up as I'm, starting to become even more confident. There is no way I would be sitting here doing this live across YouTube, my Facebook page, and my Facebook group if I did not have that sacred rage moment. It would have been, years or longer or anything, but I don't even know if I would have got there. Nothing will stand in the way of me being of service, of me sharing my stories, of me teaching and explaining about archetypes, because they've completely transformed my life, and I know that they can help other people. And I have the sacred rage to thank for that. Now, the lover archetype is one of the ones that has the most disinformation out there. And it's the higher aspect of the prostitute. And yes, you have to love yourself, show yourself compassion, put yourself first. But it's also one of your channels where you receive divine information from your higher self, your guides and source. And it's only through complete and utter self-trust that you can actually hear the messages coming through without going into a million stories or doubt or fears or programs. So out of all the archetypes that I help people with, I always find it's one of the most clogged. So when you're having this sacred rage and you have the the fuck it bucket moment, and you have the conviction, and you have I'm willing to alchemize, what you're actually saying is, I love myself that I never want to experience this in my life ever again. But you're also saying to the channel part, I trust myself enough that I want to do this. I love myself enough that I want to become this. I care about my passion and purpose enough that I will let go of anything and everything that is going to stop me from becoming who I want to be in this lifetime. And you really trust yourself on a whole new level. So what are some of the do's and the don'ts of sacred rage? If you talk about it, you dissipate it. If you project it onto somebody else, you dissipate it. If you project sacred rage onto somebody else, you've gone into shadow and you are actually doing harm, and you will have karmic repercussions. And you have to remember, the more that you work upon yourself spiritually and the more you ascend energetically, the faster the karma comes back to you. If I do a wrong, I get karma so quick it's not funny. I've learned to be responsible with my words and my energy field, and I'm working on the thoughts. I'm not perfect. I try my best to not verbalize and project things. At the moment, this is a little segue. At the moment, I've got so many people saying to me over and over, left, right, and center, about the coming recession. And I'm like, well, if everybody has that bad spell, of course we're going to go into a recession. But just because everyone's saying it doesn't mean it has to be true. How many times have you had a reading and you talk to psychic people and they're like, this timelines and futures change all the time? They can project something's happening, but they can't always say it is. And even if we have the fears that it's going to happen, why not say prayers and hopes for the best instead of putting good spells out there instead of bad? We need to become careful what we say and what we do. So when I say you don't project your rage onto somebody, I mean it. Not, even going and boxing or walking or any of those different things, if you feel yourself dissipating the rage out and you're walking the rage out, then you have to say to yourself, do I want to use this rage to change my life and make a declaration that I am never, ever going to do this to myself ever again? Or I'm never going to allow someone else to do this to me ever again. I'm never going to be in their situation ever again. Are you going to use that conviction? Or do you actually want to walk it out? Because you got your sovereign, you might decide that you don't want to use the rage and you want to walk it out. But you have to really use it to clear those blockages. Think of programs and think of trauma and wounds as energetical, physical blockages. And you can use rage to explode them, shift them really quickly. So it's use sacred rage for things like, and I'll just repeat it so it's really clear, things like, I'm not going to be treated this way. I'm not going to think about myself this way. I'm not going to do this to myself anymore. Maybe you've been trying to give up smoking or eating chocolate or alcohol for so long. And you allow the anger and the frustration at yourself and the situation to build and build and build. And then you get so angry and frustrated with yourself that you're furious. And you have that I'm never doing this to myself ever. I'm just throwing it all in. I refuse to repeat this pattern. And you can allow the energy to come up and you have that conviction. Recently, when I was overseas, had the most unwanted and unexpected pilgrimage of all time. I thought I was going for a holiday, and instead I ended up having one of the most transformative experiences of my entire life. I am a completely different human being. So I'm thankful now, but when I was in the moment, I went through so much stuff. I had all these things that happened, and I was very much in the mind, really deep, the deepest I've ever been into my mind. Had all these lessons. Then I got sick and I had all these physical things that happened. And then on my last day, I had some paperwork issues. And if I didn't have just a single piece of paper, then I was not going to be allowed home. And if I didn't get that piece of paper, I couldn't afford to lose a flight, stay there for I don't know how many days, rebook another flight, and go through all this stuff, because that would have cost me thousands of extra dollars, of which I just couldn't afford at that stage. We just had an expensive holiday. So I had this moment of rage, and I was shaking in rage. I was in my hotel room, just furious that after everything that I'd been through, all the experiences that I'd had, all of everything that was going on, I was like, no, this is not happening. And even though I got the piece of paper, I decided that I just didn't want anyone to ask me. I didn't want to talk about the visa requirements. I didn't want to talk about the bureaucratic bullshit. I didn't want to talk about the red tape or anything else about it. So I said to the universe, when I return home, I don't want anyone to ask me anything. I don't want a soul to mention anything. I just want to get home to Brisbane. And I went through 4 airports in 3 countries and about 50 to 100 different people when you talk about the people at the counters, customs, baggage lines, anybody and everybody. I went through 4 different airports, 3 different countries, and I just handed over my passport and no one really said anything, did anything. I was in such ecstasy the entire one home. It was my favorite traveling of all time, because I realized that I passed what I call the exam. I had allowed to stop being trapped in the mind and to really go into my heart and into my sacral, and I can manifest anything I want from these states. And I was proving it. I could manifest my reality so incredibly well that I didn't have to be part of the 3D program if I didn't want to be. If I needed to step outside of the paradigm and work from a different dimensional space, I could. I didn't have to stay stuck in fear and doubt. I can be in control of my reality. I can play with the universe. And if I hadn't have had the sacred rage bubble up, if I hadn't have been shaking in my hotel room, furious beyond words that this was happening to me again, yet another problem. And I'm just like, I refuse to have this as a problem. This is my reality. This is my 3D experience. I incarnated into this lifetime, and by God, you're going to give me some kind of fun and I'm going to play with this. I want to manifest this. I do not want to play by all of these freaking paperwork just to fly in an airplane. It was ridiculous. And that's what I felt, that righteous rage of just how ridiculous it all was. And it gave me the ability to look at things differently, to manifest from the heart and the sacral, to prove to myself, if you can do this, you can do anything. To look at energy in a whole different way. And if I didn't allow myself to get that freaking angry that I threw everything in the fucking bucket moment, then I wouldn't have had this experience, and then I wouldn't be able to then go and go, you know what, there's nothing that can stop me. I want to go home. I allowed myself to have time to just settle into the new me. And then I'm starting these episodes here, which I want to turn into a podcast. And I want people to understand what alchemy is. It's my mission. The alchemist archetype, all the other archetypes, but in particular, all the different tools that we can have to transform our lives. I want people to really have conversations about this. If I hadn't have had the sacred rage moment, that wouldn't have come along. If I'd have just said, oh, rage is a bad thing and anger, and that is something that we're not interested in, it's naughty and it's low vibrational, I wouldn't have had the sheer level of transformation. So I ask you to allow it to build within you. If you're going to use it to alchemize, if you're going to consciously use it to activate the utter conviction of your warrior so that you can alchemize and be in your sovereign and lover, you can use it to completely transform your life, your energy field, and your body. So I hope this has been helpful. I hope that you've enjoyed it. Please let me know in the comments and stuff if it's resonated. And let me know if you've had moments of sacred rage and how it has helped you to transform your life. Remember, we all have patterns and programs. We all have self-doubts, things that we want to let go of. And if you've been trying to let go of something for a very long time and it just won't, allow yourself to get really angry about it and do something with it. Don't tell everybody about it. Don't talk to a million people. Don't dissipate the rage. Let it build so that you have the conviction to change. Build it inside of yourself so that you can use it. If you can't, then don't try this. You know, if you feel like you can't do it, or that you can't step into that last bit of conviction and really let go of the program and stuff, then I would do the exercising or the screaming into a pillow. But I would at least try it. Let me know on what your comments are, what your thoughts are, and I've put a link to my Facebook group in the text. So for those in the description below. So for those who are not already members of it, I have in the guide section 3 days to connect with your spirit animal, 3 days for really understanding and working with the confidence, archetypal confidence. There's lots of meditations and activations and all kinds of things that are in the guide section. So please join the group and come in and become a part of a really lovely community. I have the best people in there. They're just all beautiful. If you have liked this and it really resonates, please share, like, comment, and subscribe. It's really it helps the algorithms and it helps support the creator, which is me. So thank you so much, and I adore you all, and I will see you soon. Bye for now.